California's fabled wine country, the legendary Ferrari mark, both truly top shelf. Together they create a marvelous journey through historic Sonoma and the beauty of the surrounding vineyards. To transform journey into outright adventure, however, you must include a stop at Sonoma Raceway. This weekend, the pilots of the Ferrari Challenge face a supreme test as they will step into their stunning 488 Challenge Evos for one serious technical roller coaster ride carved into the hills of San Francisco's North Bay. Hi everybody, and welcome to the second round of Ferrari Challenge North America's 2021 championship season. And this is the first of two races to unfold today, the first of four to unfold over the doubleheader weekend. This is Coppa Shell Race 1 with its two categories, Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell Am. Great to have you with us. It's a picture postcard perfect kind of day. Nary a hint of clouds in the sky, beautiful blue sky overlooking a field full of Ferraris. Doesn't get much better than that. Nor does the calendar for Ferrari Challenge. Look at this one. We already raced at Virginia International Raceway, here at Sonoma, then Watkins Glen in the middle of May, middle of June, Homestead, Miami, Indianapolis in mid-July for Ferrari racing days. Formula One Ferraris back in Indy. Can't wait for that one. Road America in mid-September, and the Finale Mondiale in Mugello coming up in November. So that's an absolutely stunning calendar. That's one of the real attractions of Ferrari Challenge, of course, is the venues that they run at here. And we're at a beautiful one. This is truly a technical, really technical challenge here at Sonoma, right in the heart of wine country in mid-California, just north of San Francisco and north of the Bay. And beautiful day here. And the weather, of course, is stunning as well. And this track is really a marvelous challenge. It's literally carved into the side of a huge hill and named after one of the owners of the land that had this place before it was turned into a race track. We're running the 2.2 mile version of this track, and as you can see, there's tight hairpins on either end, then that climb up through the very technical twisty bits on the top of the hill, then the plummet down the long carousel onto the drag strip, and then you've got the legendary S's on the way back into the chicane through turn 10 and completing a lap here. And it is technical, it is very slippery and very hard on tires, it's abrasive. So tire management, even in a 30-minute race, is going to be hugely important. And we're in the middle right now of what they call the recon laps. A couple of laps to go out, see how the track may have changed since these cars were out in qualifying. I'm Greg Creamer, great to have you with us. Shea Adam down in pit lane with us and watching these cars up close and personal here as we are getting ready to go. There you see it. You take a look at the weather. Look at that humidity, nice and low. The temperature right now, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Absolutely beautiful. Perfect racing conditions for the drivers inside these cars with the cool temperatures and the low humidity. They are comfortable. The cars in this low humidity, everything cools better. It's just absolutely wonderful, and we're looking forward to a good one here. As I said, 30-minute race. That'll be coming up here. Two different categories, Coppa Shell, and for the brand new drivers, the least experienced drivers into Ferrari Challenge competition, Coppa Shell Am. Make no mistake, these are quick drivers. And these Ferrari 488 Challenge Evos are remarkably high-performance cars. Their counterparts, the variants of these cars that race in the Pro Series, like GT3 or in GTE, that run in Europe in the World Endurance Championship, or IMSA here in the U.S. These cars significantly more powerful than they are. They're restricted by rule here. These cars almost 700 horsepower. They are beautiful to behold, and when you're down among them, they are glorious. And that's where Shea Adam is.
It gives you goosebumps to be down here amongst all the horsepower, and what better horses than Ferraris, the prancing horses. Still building out the grid, as I'm sure you can see. We don't have all of them out here yet, but some of the cars that we do have are notable. Michael Watt, front row start in car number 150. He got 2 wins last year. Mike is looking to add to that here in California. He has been so quick around Sonoma so far this weekend, narrowly missing out on the pole position, but it was Christopher Aiken who took the pole in car number 119. He's not here yet, so we're not going to talk about him just quite at the moment. But this car, the green with the black, Todd Coleman. Todd was a revelation at VIR. 2 races, 2 wins. So Todd is somebody who is definitely competitive, and he's got the stickers over the door to prove that he is a 2-time race winner, reminding everyone else in competition that he is a force to be reckoned with. Further back on the grid, we've got more stories worth talking about. Lance Colley, car number 176, Lance's Ferrari of Atlanta. He has been a strong competitor all year, and in fact, throughout his entire Ferrari Challenge history, he has been running phenomenally well so far this weekend, up as far as P1 overall in the charts yesterday. Qualified back on the 4th row of the grid. He will not be staying there for very long. And right behind him, this is another story worth talking about, because we have a first-time competitor and a first-time pole sitter in the Ferrari Challenge. Car number 172, Benoit Bergeron, Ferrari of Quebec. Very fast driver and a very good first effort here. He's at a place right now on the grid, so they are going to move him up a little bit further. As we wait for more of our competitors to come in, I can see the blue and orange car a bit further back of Lisa Clark, and I did manage to catch up with Lisa yesterday. You're a bit of an adrenaline junkie as far as all this goes. Talk a little bit about racing a Ferrari and why Ferrari Challenge is the place for you.
I don't know if I'm an adrenaline junkie. I mean, I like speed, but I do like the brand a lot. And the fact I was given that opportunity to even be in a race car on the track in a Ferrari is really amazing to me. So, yeah, I'm on this great ride of my life and one of these amazing cars, and right there. And yeah, I just love every second in that car. It's incredible.
California is home for you, so what's it like getting to race at Sonoma?
Sonoma's a beautiful place, and you know, you've got the wine country and the rolling hills and stuff, so it's close to home, and I haven't really been at this track very much, so for me to race here is going to be incredible, so I'm really looking forward to challenging the boys.
Tell you, Lisa, understanding the history of the sport, showing off those legendary John Wyer automotive colors, and there is the grid getting ready to go. We talked about this remarkable technical, and I said roller coaster, and if you haven't been on a roller coaster in a while, we've got a treat for you. As earlier in the weekend, Trofeo Pirelli AM2 driver and a quick one, John McGrew, gave us a lap of this amazing racetrack. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm John McGrew. I drive the 23 car, part of Ferrari Long Island. I'm going to take you for a lap around Sonoma Raceway. So here we are coming onto the front straight, flat the whole way, looking for turn 1. It's a really tricky turn, trying to figure out how to arc it in smoothly. Then suddenly it's a big bump, try to hit the throttle going uphill, and then a hard brake to the first part of turn 2. And again, flat, get up to 5th gear, turn 3, you try to hit the camber here so it catches the car, moves you to left, and then back on the throttle full in 4th gear coming into turn 4. This comes up really fast, and so you can't wait too long to brake for turn 4. This turn 5 is really a flow corner, same with turn 6 coming up right now. It's all about how you can carry speed. You're working the throttle the whole way, trying to get too much push or too much oversteer. When you come out of that flat, heading up to turn 7, climbing speed a lot. And this one you really have to pick your brake point just right. Turn 7 is a double apex turn. So one technique is to hit the throttle in between and then go back to the brake, and then you're going into the S's. This is a hairy part of the racetrack. You have to hit the brakes right here, right before that. Make sure you stay hard left so that you can stay flat coming out of that. It's critical to come out of there with a lot of speed. And here's turn 9, the chicane, which is a classic place to oversteer, push too hard, because what's really important coming out of that, going into turn 10, be able to stay flat throughout this. You can see the track in the afternoons like this gets really greasy and tricky. So then here's the last turn, turn 11. Try to stay wide going in, hard brake, but trail braking so that you can get the car pointed straight out toward the wall so you can get flat early. Really exciting track, a lot of scary blind turns that you got to figure out as you go along. And that's a lap here at Sonoma Raceway.
As you can see, it is truly a roller coaster ride. For any up-and-coming drivers who are thinking about doing it, when he turned into the carousel, replay this if you have a DVR somehow, and look at his eyes and look at that focus and where they're looking relative to his hands before he even gets there. That was a great lap by John, and very, very quick. There's the field getting ready to go. And something I just wanted to address a little bit here. A new charity has become part of the official Ferrari Challenge and Ferrari North America family. It's Race for RP, and RP is an autoimmune disease called relapsing polychondritis, and it's an inflammation of the cartilage, and it can hit the cartilage anywhere in the body. It's incredibly painful. It can last the symptoms for days or even weeks, and it can get into the cartilage of the trachea and affect breathing. It's really a tough disease, and there is a driver whose family has somebody in it suffering from it, and Race for RP has now become a part of the family, and they are now this weekend debuting on all of these cars, and everybody is absolutely delighted with that development. And from the board of directors of Race for RP, for our very special command today, let's get it down to Shay, who's with Nancy Lynn.
Thank you, Ferrari Challenge, and thank you to all the teams. And drivers, start your engines!
And that is how you do that. That was awesome. And this big field that's getting ready to set off here, and I'm looking at the numbers, 24 cars between the two classes, each of them 670 plus horsepower, ready to go, coming to life down there for their outlap. Because they do a recon lap, even though this track is a bit short at 2.2 miles, sometimes they'd let them have 2 laps. Because of those recon laps now, you get 1 pace lap, and then we go racing. Clock starts when the green flag flies, 30 minutes of competition. And one of the key things to really watch for in this one is tire management. We've talked about it. This track is very slippery, so you slide a lot. It's also abrasive. So as you slide, it's like the tires are going across a cheese grater, and it really tears the tires up. So smooth is everything. And if you go out and you're fast early, but you're throwing the car around, you're going to struggle at the end of this race. And talking to a number of the coaches that work with these drivers, they've all said we're really working on that part of racecraft here to be able to conserve tires and have them underneath the car late in the race. Because if you used them up and somebody's coming, you're going to really be struggling. Or if there happens to be an incident and there's a caution flag and you've got a nice lead built up because you hammered it, that all goes away, and then cars that might be in better shape with tires are going to be all over you. Take a look here at this field working its way out. And again, 2 different categories of driver rating. Everybody in Ferrari Challenge, regardless of whether they're in Coppa Shell or Trofeo Pirelli in one of the classes, all in these marvelous 488 Challenge Evos. And again, Coppa Shell for the newer drivers to Ferrari Challenge competition, being led around by the F8 Tributo, which is the new road-going version of the 488. Take a look at the grid. Christopher Aiken with his first pole of 2021. Michael Watt, Ferrari of Atlanta, alongside Dave Musial Jr., Ferrari Lake Forest. Inside row 2, joined by points leader Todd Coleman, Ferrari of Denver. Then the new guy, Benoit Bergeron, and he's on pole in the Coppa Shell Am class. Frank Rumi alongside Jan Bernier. Next up, Ferrari of Seattle. Lance Colley, Ferrari of Atlanta. Then the number 155, Ian Campbell, Ferrari of New England. Brett Jacobson, 123, Ferrari of Austin. 166, Charles Whitall, Ferrari of Central Florida. Cyril Choksi, 173, Ferrari of Denver. Roy Carroll, the number 121, Foreign Cars Italia, Ferrari. Joe Sposato, Beverly Hills Ferrari in the 182. The 189, John Viscup in the Boardwalk Ferrari entry. 139, John Cervini for Ferrari of Ontario. 127, Lisa Clark, Ferrari of Beverly Hills. Dave Schmidt, Ferrari of Palm Beach. Then Luis Peruzquia, Ferrari of Tampa Bay, the number 131, joined by the 157 of Jesus Mendoza. Then Paul Keebler in the Continental Autosports, number 133. Anthony DiCarlo, Ferrari of Palm Beach. Neil Langberg, Ferrari of South Bay, the 153. And Mr. Nunberg in the number 141, Ferrari of Central New Jersey. Jeff Nunberg, by the way, ran Club Challenge in the previous round, which is a high-speed lapping experience. Decided he wanted to give Ferrari Challenge a try, so nice to have him out on the track. As we take a look there at the 123 of Brett Jacobson for Ferrari of Austin, and the rest of the field lights out, as you see on that beautiful F8 Tributo. As I was saying, it is the new version, the road-going top end of the new road-going version of the 488, and it is a beautiful piece of machinery, fitting to be leading around these incredible 488 Challenge Evos as we are ready to go green. Lights out. It is going to duck. You can see the pit lane entry there to the right of your screen with the dotted lines and then the cones. And then it will be up to the pole sitter. And it looks like it would be Mike Watt in that orange and purple machine. It's not. It's the other car, Chris Aiken, because the last turn actually is a little kink to the left, which puts him on the inside. And as I said, the Ferrari did not duck into the pit lane. I think it's because it just pulls off into this big open space, so it leads them around a little bit farther. This track offers the opportunity to do that, but the car's starting to bunch up. Looking forward to this one. Aiken bringing them through. Watt alongside. Musial, Coleman, we're green! Green flag flies. Clock has started down the front straight in this turn 1. High-speed climbing corner into a blind turn in for turn 2. Get it all sorted out. Everybody being very careful there. Nice move there by Coleman getting underneath Musial. Coleman got a run. He might get Watt around the outside if he can make it work in turn 3. There's Aiken, but behind him, what happens? Coleman up from 4th to 2nd in a couple of corners. A tremendous start for the points leader. And then the rest of the field working its way down into turn 4. And their first experience in race conditions now, down through this long, never-ending carousel. Here it is. You can see the different lines there. Coleman just tucks it tight to the inside, while Aiken takes a little wider entry in. And you can see that pays off on the exit, as Aiken diamonding that corner a bit, able to get to the throttle just a little bit sooner than Coleman, and keeps that margin intact down into turn 7. Watt sits 3rd. Then it's Musial Jr., and then the Coppa Shell Am pole sitter, the newbie, Benoit Bergeron, having a very solid start. And the rest of the field through there was Lisa Clark. And taking a look there at the 131 as well of Luis Perusquia. Back up front, Aiken maintaining that margin. And I think what we're seeing is a pretty good strategy play here. Nobody racing anybody super hard at this point, because when you do that, especially if you dive up the inside and the like, that's when you can start to really stress these tires. And these Pirelli P0s are remarkable, and they've developed a brand new tire for this new Evo version of this car. And it is really good on long runs. But even so, on a track like this, if you push too hard, get too aggressive early, you can tear them up a little bit, and then they go away. There's Benoit Bergeron, and doing a superb job from pole in his first ever start. This is only his 3rd or 4th year of racing. He did a little international GT racing, but they have an AM category in that, and he ran there, and he was very impressive in that category. But didn't expect him to come in here and put it on pole first time out in these very, very special, unique cars. And he's doing a great job. In fact, now starting to give Musial in that multicolored machine a pretty solid run. That's Musial Jr., by the way. His dad races in Trofeo Pirelli. And they're sticking right with Michael Watt in that purple and orange machine. I've said it many times, if those colors look familiar and you get a good close look at the door, you see a tiger on the side. You bet. He is a Clemson graduate and loves the Clemson Tigers. He is wheeling that thing beautifully. He really came alive, it seemed, in the second half of last season, and has really started to come after it here. Now closes up as they head into this turn 9-9A chicane on the back of point leader Todd Coleman. You can see Coleman exits tight. He wants to be able to swing over and get the run through 10, but sometimes you run a little bit wider through the exit at 9 there. You can float a little bit more speed, but for these guys, looked like by the time they got settled, it was about equal. And Bergeron now starting to hunt a little bit on the back of Musial. And again, they are different classes, scored differently from Coppa Shell to Coppa Shell Am. There is a point for fast lap that can be important for the championship. Currently in Coppa Shell, that goes to Todd Coleman at a 1:45.7. And Bergeron in the Coppa Shell Am category at a 1:45.8. So, and usually fast laps come in the first 10 minutes or so of the races when the tires are at their best. That'll be even more likely here on this track, which, as I said, is just tough on tires. So they tend to drop off just a little bit sooner. So if you want that point right now, and a good battle here as Cyril Choksi is starting to really work on the back of John Viskup Jr. and see him look to the inside. Viskup having none of that, shutting the door as they turn into turn 5. Here they pop over that little rise, now drop into this carousel falls away, goes on forever. That's a key spot to manage tires. You heard John McGrew say you're working the throttle, and he's talking about just little dabs and lifts of the throttle to keep the car balanced through there, but you don't want it to step out at all. It just scrubs speed. Biscup, nice line through turn 7, opens that margin up just a little bit over Choxy. Talked to Surreal earlier in the weekend there in the 173. He's a data center company owner on a global level, very successful, also plays some competitive tennis. But he said one of the most exciting things is he's got 10 or more family and friends here this weekend for the first time to watch him race. Really excited about that, obviously, as one would. You can see a little bit of a break now between Bergeron and then Franck Remy, who's in the number 109, running second in the Coppa Shell Am category, 6th in the overall order right now. Coleman right now closing in just a little bit on the back of Aiken, just trying to keep that green flashing through the camera, rear view camera of Aiken's car, keeping his attention there. Watt Musial tucked right in line as well. Currently 5th in Coppa Shell is the 132 of Seattle resident Jan Bernier, and he too has some friends and family down. He said this is the closest one to Seattle, obviously, and it's an hour flight, and a number of people said we want to come and check that out. So that's very cool. Running 3rd in Coppa Shell Am right now, 9th overall, is Lance Colley in the number 176 Ferrari of Atlanta entry. 4th, Roy Carroll, the number 4 foreign car is Italian, number 121. And then 5th in Coppa Shell Am is the number 123 of Jacobson. Jacobson driving for Ferrari of Austin. There's a look at Bernier. As we said, really pleased here. He's sticking right with Franck Remy right now. So, yeah, this is only his 2nd season of racing. He ran at Coppa Shell Am last year and had a podium and decided, you know what, along with perhaps some incentive, shall we say, from the Ferrari Challenge race directors and competition committee saying, yeah, let's move you up. And Jan has acquitted himself very well in only his 2nd season of racing in this category. Whistling by start finish, starting this climb up. You get right to that wall, and it's just like another one of these very long corners. You turn in, you float out, you come back to the inside to set up for 2. You heard McGrew talk about a big bump right as you go through turn 1. And it's very tough to avoid it, and if you completely avoid it, you're going to be slow because of where the bump's located. And it was fascinating. McGrew was talking to his coach after one of the practice sessions, and I happened to be there, and Matt Plum, very, very talented driver, I was talking to him, and he said, when you're on the right line, as Coleman really starting to heat up his pressure on Aiken, he said, when you're on the right line through there, you're going to hit that bump. And he said, and you're going to have some input into the wheel. It's going to be turned a little bit. And he said, right as you feel that compression come for the bump, straighten your hands out as you feel the bump and then go back into your little bit of a turn. And he said, that way you don't have to give up speed. You just straighten the wheel, go right back into the load because the bump happens and then you climb. So you go right back to load and you're going to get that grip. And just really interesting listening to it. And McGrew figured it out as have a number of the drivers here. And I just noticed something that Aiken, as he comes out of turn 7, just as he starts to flow up into turn 8, he just dabs the brakes. Coleman is not doing that. Aiken in that black car leading right now. Coleman in the green and black machine. And Aiken, I think, when you dab the brake, you just help keep the back of the car planted. These cars are so powerful, even with traction control. And all of the great aids on the cars, with all that power, the hard acceleration and the acceleration, if you're still in a bit of a turn, finishing a corner, even with the traction control, you can load the tires big time. And Aiken may be doing everything he can to keep those tires underneath him at this stage. Here's a look at the 133, and that is Paul Keebler. Keebler having a good dice right now, feeling a little bit of pressure, but having a good run at this stage with Anthony DiCarlo right behind him. DiCarlo in that silver entry with the red, a little bit of yellow trim on it. Battle right now for the final spot in the top 10 held by Keebler as Roy Carroll climbs the hill. Roy in the 121 Foreign Cars Italia entry. He's a creative real estate developer and project developer, and his new project is Beehive Storage and Wine Cellars. It's an innovative concept to incorporate a storage facility and being able to store some wines there. There's Lisa Clark leading in the ladies category. Shay did that interview with Lisa, and Lisa's been in this championship a while, has had some podiums and the like, and she said not a lot of familiarity with this track, even though she lives out here in the West Coast. So right now, I'm sure she is just absorbing information and almost up into the top 5 in the Coppa Shell Am category. That's the guy she's duking it out with here is Brett Jacobson in the 123. There's Lisa. So that's the margin she has. So go back up to Royal Carroll in this battle for that 10th spot. Charles Whittle is really starting to come alive here as well, but Jacobson might be starting to feel a little bit of pressure, Shay, from Clark.
Yeah, with Brett Jacobson behind the wheel, another guy who's learning with every single lap around this track. He really enjoys those technical-based circuits. So Sonoma is right up there amongst those that he's been looking forward to this year. But Brett is also going to be running on some pretty high-profile circuits, running in Singapore later this year as well. So from Sonoma to Singapore, Brett Jacobs, a man born in South Africa, raised in London, he's getting the miles in.
Well, I'll tell you what, and he has just jumped into full-on racing with both feet, hasn't he? I mean, as I understand it, it wasn't in March when he got his first challenge car. VIR was his first race ever, wasn't it? Wow, look at this. Carroll really starting to feel the heat, and then he got a huge drive out of the carousel and opened that margin up over Whitall, but then he ran a little bit wide there in turn 7. Didn't cost him too much there, but Whitall now starting to up the ante just a little bit. And it looks like those laps are going to hold for those fast laps that I mentioned earlier here. Musial actually claimed one here, took it back from Coleman. That's important for Musial. As I said, it offers up points. And Musial did, yeah, he turned a 145.647. Bergeron a 145.643, so Musial now has fast lap and in class, but Bergeron in the AM category has the fastest lap of all at this stage, so that's mighty impressive. And up front, looking at the times here, I want to go back to that battle between Carroll and Whitall. The guy who's quicker than either of them right now is Viscup Jr. behind the both of them here. Look at this great group of 4. Aiken, Coleman, Watt, and Musial have eased away from the rest of the field. See that little bit of a gap they've built. Then comes Bergeron. But Bergeron has a nice margin back to Franck Remy. And I'm pretty sure that Elio Giulioni, the team manager for Etc. Racing that fields Bergeron's Ferrari Quebec entry, is talking to him and going, you've got a big lead right now over the guy you're racing for the class win. Don't get greedy and go after those guys in front of you here. You don't need to do that. So we pick up Neil Langberg here, and you can see the big prominent race for RP. Oh! Big moment here down in that tricky turn 7. One of the cars, reverse attitude here, trying to gather it up. The other one getting going here, but that was somebody that was up a little bit farther, and that was, we're watching Viscup here, so I wonder if Whitall and Carroll didn't have a little bit of a moment. Yes, and Whitall finally getting the car righted and heading out. Those guys were in pretty close concert. Pure speculation here, but not that they necessarily got together, but one of them may have tried something, got offline. had it loop, and it's going to certainly cost them some track position and just general positions in this race. Looks like Whittall still trying to get the dirt on debris off of his tires here. It takes a little bit when you spin like that. One, you can flat spot the tires, but you get off line, and that's where the junk is. Let's watch here, coming in. Oh, and it was Viscup down to the inside, got that curb, nowhere to go. And Whittall had already committed and turned in. And Whittall, you're at that what they call sort of the cone of danger zone, where at a certain point in a corner, the driver that you're passing is already past his mirrors and looking through the corner and starting to turn in. And Viscup had that run and thought it would work, and he ate a lot of curb. He did everything he could to try and avoid the contact, but was just in a little too hot, and it sent Whittall around. Look at this now. Coleman starting to up the ante just a little bit, running a tenth or two quicker per lap, and then Watt joining in. Ooh, Watt overshooting a little bit in turn 9, and you can see that hurt him. When you overshoot like that, you got to overslow the car to save it. He was right up on the back of Coleman, and now he's 5 car lengths back. I mean, that's how quickly these margins can change. But as we're into the final half of the race now, Coleman is hunting. Look at the different lines. You see Aiken trying to really rotate the car, get it straightened out, while Coleman ran a little bit more traditional line. But if Aiken is not taking much out of the car as he turns it in that hairpin, that straighter approach out could be saving those rears a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see if Coleman is just sort of hanging in there, pressuring a little bit. And if he loses patience and attacks too soon, or if Aiken is conserving beautifully, or if Aiken has just doesn't quite have the pace that Coleman wants. But this track, not an easy one to pass on, and if you place the car in the right spot, it's difficult to get through. Here's Whittall now recovering, working his way up through the pack once again, having slipped back a bit just now in front of Anthony DiCarlo. So Whittall back in 19th spot. That was painful for him in terms of track position. Right up behind Brett Jacobson. And I just got a report from race control that Jacobson had his own spin by himself, so that's why he's dropped off just a little bit. And that has promoted now Lisa Clark into the top 5 in class, Coppa Shell Am, in the number 127. So love watching this part of the track here through this carousel. There's Jacobson, Whittall. Down through here, looks like Whittall might have a little bit of a run. Meanwhile, oh, look at this. Aiken now has opened that margin up just a bit, and now Coleman has a window full of Watt right now. A mirror full of Watt, I should say. Just that quickly, Coleman is able to reel Aiken in again. Everybody giving the exit there at the top of 3A fair amount of respect. It really takes a little bravado and experience to be willing to take the car all the way out to that exit curve, because it's a blind turn in, completely blind. And if you overshoot it, there's a wall that's just a few feet past that exit curve, and it's daunting. It's daunting. Look at this Bergeron now starting to come back and close in on that lead group before as we go back to this scrap. And Jacobson, his recovery has been a good one here. Whittall has not been able to get through on him. Oh, and Watt down into turn 7, gets down underneath Coleman, takes second overall and second in Coppa Shell away. And as I said, Michael Watt has developed into a bit of a demon, late breaking, late in the race pass guy, and puts it into good effect right there. And that was a move on the points leader and double winner at VIR. And Watt, just that fast, has run down Aiken, and they're coming up as a group. You can see it. There's some traffic up in front as well. And maybe Viscup recovering from that bit of contact. Jeff Nunberg, perhaps. So really careful here. Aiken tried to figure it out which way to go and still has not been able to get through, and that is giving Watt a huge opportunity here. But Watt has to check up, and suddenly Coleman right back in the mix. That is the 141 in Nunberg, and now Nunberg just stays way out to the left. Nice job. Got to a spot of the track where he could let them through clean. And they bottled up behind him a little bit, but when he let him through, it didn't really affect much. Here they go. Boy, beautiful. This drone shot gives you a little bit of a feel, somewhat, of the elevation drop there through that carousel. And Nunberg doing a nice job, showing some good track awareness, Shay.
Yeah, it really was, especially for someone in his first race weekend. As you mentioned, Greg, he was at Virginia International Raceway, but ultimately deciding not to take a chance with the car. He said his goal for any race weekend is to bring it back perfectly in the same condition that he took it out in, not a scratch on that car. And Jeffrey Nunberg, he might not be running at the front of the pack, but he is showing awareness that champions often have to demonstrate.
He really did, and had a chance to talk with him about things, and he said, well, he's a co-owner of the dealership of Central New Jersey, Ferrari of Central New Jersey, and he said that the other owners said, yeah, we love the racing, but if you're going to go race in it, that's up to you. And Jeff said it wouldn't do to have the owner of a dealership with these beautiful cars to, you know, as you said, have it come back all scratched up from hard, aggressive racing. He said, so he said, I'm just learning right now anyway. I'm new to this, and I just want to make sure this beautiful machine stays exactly that way. And tell you, beautiful machines are on attack here now as Watt has reeled in Aiken once again as they start to climb up through the compression there of turn 3. Here's that great corner right at the top of the mountain there. And now going back the exit of turn 7 into turn 8 complex. There again is Brett Jacobson. It's right on the back of Luis Peruski. And ooh, late move there, but pulled it off. The 133 of Keebler. That was an aggressive move on Jesus Mendoza. Keebler in the Continental Autosport entry, sneaking through on the Ferrari of San Francisco entry of Mendoza. And oh, right as I said it, look at this. Outside move by Watt. Can he make it work? He's really hot down into 7. This is for the lead. Aiken comes back down the inside. Watt feints over. Aikens gives him room. They're still side by side. And at that part of the track where Aikens was placed, Chris, really, that driver has to give it up or there's going to be contact. So Watt just ramped the outside there and put Aiken in a spot where Chris really had to make the hard choice, and he did. And Watt went through. And in that exchange with Aiken braking, Watt able to just open up a margin and sort of park Coleman et al. Behind him. As I said, boy, late in these races, Watt has just been superb, starting with about the last third of the season last year. Ooh, looked like right there Musial saw Coleman run wide and thought, I can get him here, and went a little bit too soon to throttle. You can see that little wiggle by Musial, and that just absolutely, the momentum he had there, it just blunted it. That car steps out like that, and whether the driver lifts or whether the traction control kicks in, and traction control, all it does is it slows down the rotation of the rear wheels. And by nature, that means it slowed things down. So Musial just couldn't quite take advantage of that little bit of an opportunity here. And as Watt is gone, Watt now dropping into the 147s, everybody behind him in the mid 148s. But we're coming up on 6 to go, and at this stage, if you've got anything with laps running in the 140, let's say 148s here, there's 3 laps maybe yet to go. It's time to go. Whatever you've got now, it's time to play those cards and get after it. Go all in. I'm sure there are other card references I could make, but you'd get tired of it. So we'll continue. Just watching some great racing here, so it's going to be fascinating to see now what Coleman, Musial, Bergeron has. Right now, Benoit Bergeron, as Bernier has snuck around on Franck Rivi, so Bergeron even has a buffer between himself and his next closest pursuer in class. Oh, and a big aggressive lunge there. It's the 173 of Cyril Chox. He continues to be aggressive and trying to move up. That was Roy Carroll he got after there, and Carroll having none of it. Choxy had to take a little bit of evasive, and up front, side by side on those guys going in. That was Lance Colley, I think, on Ian Campbell, and he got through. Beautiful move by Colley, and it got Campbell just, no, that's a lap car, I think. That may be Nunberg. But Nunberg again letting Colley go through. Carroll there just chose the wrong spot. Now Carroll going to try and go right around the outside here. Choxy going to try and go with him, and he doesn't. Look at this. Another move. Watt willing to be outside, whether it's for class position or working through drivers down the order just a little bit. He is just hooked up. He must have taken care of his tires brilliantly in that first 20 minutes, because that car is just stuck. There is Aiken still hanging on. And that black 488 Challenge Evo over the green and black entry of Coleman, again the points leader. Then behind him is Dave Musial in that multi-hued machine, second in the points coming in. So Musial going to be a little frustrated because the biggest swing in points is from first to second. And he really would like to get in front of Coleman here and try and take away a few points. You can see Coleman following now Aiken's line a little bit more through the exit of turn 9, setting up for 10. When he got to the front, Watt now into the 46s, and his margin now is up to almost 3 seconds over this battle with Aiken, Coleman, Musial, and then Bergeron at the back. Watt is flying. Right now with 3 minutes to go. So they should get white flag next time by. It'll be close. You know, if timing and scoring says, you know, the white flag comes out at, or as they come to the line, if it's at 150 and they're lapping in the 148s, 147s, they won't throw the white. They'll say, no, even if there's 3 seconds left on the clock, you don't throw it until you're there and through, as Lisa Clark comes through. Nice run by Lisa, 5th in the Coppa Shell Am class. Working her way up the hill here. Here's this battle once again. Lisa started in dirt bikes and desert rods, then had a bit of a crash and some injuries and said, all right, time to get into 4 wheels with something wrapped around me, and she has embraced it thoroughly. There's Watt turning into turn 9, and here comes this battle. Coleman's in a tough spot here, because if he tries a lunge on Aiken and it goes wrong, Musial's close enough to be able to just knife through. This is a tough position. Coleman here driving, looking forward at Aiken, but also eye to the mirrors here. I'll tell you, Aiken's line as the white flag comes out, and that would be spot on per the regulations. So this is it. There's Watt, leader overall and in Coppa Shell. Here comes Aiken, Coleman, and Musial, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th overall and in Coppa Shell. And then Bergeron. I think he's doing a brilliant job, Benoit is, particularly from pole in his first ever Ferrari Challenge race. With a big margin back to 2nd spot. And he's backed off a little bit, going just in case these 3 get real aggressive here in this last lap and there's contact and something goes wrong. Give yourself enough of a buffer. They're not in your class to be able to do whatever avoidance you need to be able to do. Showing some really good tactical resolve here as we watch Watt hits that drag strip for a little bit, then just flicks off to the left. Sets up one last time for turn 7. Coleman not close enough to Aiken here to do anything. Musial getting a good run. You see the backs of those cars as they go to throttle, even with the traction control. They do skate just a little bit with all this power. So what's going to happen here? This is the last, well, one of the last 2 overtaking areas here. You can see Coleman worried about Musial, so he feinted inside just a little bit to take away a little bit of track width from Musial to try an inside lunge. And now this is it, last opportunity to do anything here. Watt coming up on some traffic, but he's got enough of a margin. He can take it easy. Aiken really worried about that, turned in quite early and floated in, but got the car slowed down. Here comes Watt. He's going to get the win. What a run, what a race by Michael Watt at the line. There he comes, Aiken from the pole, hangs on to second, Coleman and Musial, and there flashes through Benoit Bergeron in his first Ferrari Challenge race, not only getting the pole, but getting the win in Coppa Shell Am. But what a run by Michael Watt. Just absolutely superb. Well judged. He had 2 wins last year and adds a 3rd here in these 2 years. There's Benoit, the driver from Montreal, who is also has a, I don't know if it's a home or just a boat, but he's been staying in Nassau and boating down there. There is Michael Watt, thumbs up. Yes, sir, Michael, you earned it. That was superb. And he did an absolutely superb job of tire management. And I'm sure in the back of his head, Nick Janssen, who's coaching him, you know, asked him, said, how's the car feel? And he said, you've been really smooth, everything, go, see what it's got. And boy, did he. Just wonderful here. Going back here, having a look at Luis Peruskia in that red Ferrari. And Neil Langberg going for that final spot in the overall top 10. Looks like Peruskia able to hang on to it over a very close Neil Langberg, Neilio, as friends and family call him. But there is Watt coming in. One last thing about Neil Langberg in that race for RP. As I said, they've got race for RP on all the cars now, and all the drivers in this paddock embracing it big time. And the whole idea of the Race for RP Foundation is to, one, raise awareness of the foundation and the terrible autoimmune disease, then educate, and finally now they've moved into the research stage to try and find not just treatments but cures. The cause of it is still unknown. So the research really, really going toward that right now. But they've got a program now, an RP Foundation at the University of Pennsylvania. It's the first of its kind. And also a survey program that's approved by the National Institute of Health. So they're really gaining some traction here in trying to find a cure for this. And Neil's wife, Nancy, who did the Start Command, a retired nurse, she actually suffers from it, and that's why this family is so involved in it. But let's take a look at our overall results. Michael Watt winning overall in Coppa Shell, with Aiken, Coleman, Musial completing the top 4 overall and in Coppa Shell again. Remarkable run by Benoit Bergeron as he wins from pole in his first ever Ferrari Challenge race in Coppa Shell Am. Then Jan Bernier finishing 5th in the Coppa Shell category, 6th overall. Frank Remy in the 7th spot, but 2nd in Coppa Shell Am. Then Ian Campbell, Lance Cawley completing the podium in Coppa Shell Am. And then Cyril Choksi, and then Roy Carroll and Lisa Clark rounding out the top 5 in the Coppa Shell Am category. As we take a look, you look there at Charles Whittall, who had that little bit of an incident with John Viscup, and Whittall able to work his way back up after losing almost to the back of the field, back up into the 15th overall spot, and then the rest of the field at this point. So just an absolutely great run. And DiCarlo and Peruskia and Langberg, I think I said 10th overall, but it was 10th in class for Luis Peruskia. So a nice run for him. And then here, Dave Schmidt, and for some reason not able to make the start. And then the rest of the field, a couple of guys having their little bits of moments here and there. But what a great run at the front. Really, really enjoyed watching how that all unfolded. And there is Michael Watt, who's made his way into Parc Fermé. And if our camera's there, that means Shea is close at hand, and we're going to be hearing from Mike here in short order. But he is just delightful, and I'm sure delighted with this result. He was telling me about one of the reasons that he said, I think I've been very fortunate. The coaches I've had for my years in this championship is like a who's who in racing. Jeff Siegel, Colin Brown, Andy Lally, Jeff Westphal, and now Nick Janssen. And a guy named Jeff Brown does the team engineering for that team. That's nice to have in your back pocket as well here. And he got his degree in computer engineering from Clemson, and thus his connection to the Clemson Tigers and that graphics package on that car. And Benoit Bergeron must be thrilled as well. But first of all, let's hear from our overall winner, Shea.
Well, for Michael Watt, it was a big night the other night with the football draft and Clemson being picked P1. Today, you take it home P1. What's it like to win at Sonoma?
Well, I got to say, that was a lot of pressure with Trevor getting first in the draft. I was ready to change my colors so I wouldn't have to compete with that. He was an incredible player. This was loads of fun. Sonoma is a very unique course, as you know. It's just very technical, and it wears the tires. So it's just what happens at the beginning is not what's going to happen at the end. And it was loads of fun. Great drivers. I really appreciated Todd and Chris. They ran a hard race, and it was a great race.
Job done for race one. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing what you can do tomorrow.
We'll see. We'll try to do it again. We got a lot of competition there.
Thank you, Michael.
It's good to see you.
The fun thing about these weekends is you get to do it twice, and that's what makes it just so enjoyable here. So if you miss something in the first race, you got a shot at redemption, and if you come in a little bit behind in the points, you've got 2 opportunities to close it up. It's all wonderful stuff. We should say a little bit, I mean, the remarkable partners of this championship, Shell, obviously, Pirelli with the incredible tires. There's so many of them, and Misahara Jewelry also on board. They've got a beautiful booth in the hospitality area here, which is absolutely top tier. They do it at every one of the venues, and believe me, their jewelry sparkles as pretty as these cars do. It's a nice dynamic to have them as part of the championship as well. And you get the drivers well equipped with the cars. You can get the crew and the family well equipped with the other jewels from Misahara. And speaking of a first-time rookie, pole sitter, and now Shea winner, remarkable.
Ideal day for Benoit. Talk us through the start of the race. You seem to be competing with the guys in the next class up.
Yes, I was trying. This morning was a nice qualify, but I knew I had half a second. I was too slow, so I had to start 4. Cannot 5 excuse. Sorry. So I had to push, try to push them to make mistake, but a tough track to pass. So
Still,
I followed them. The guys were good. They keep up, and there was no mistake from them. So that's it. I'm happy. It's the first race, so now it's not new to me anymore.
congratulations, 1 race, 1 win. That's a great record.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you all.
Boy, isn't it? That's really remarkable. And yeah, he has been a revelation here. I think it's absolutely great to have him in this championship. Hope he's able to continue. Let's take a look at points now in the Coppa Shell category with Coleman coming home in the 3rd spot. But he still did very well, obviously, and continues with Musial finishing back and forth, and behind him he actually stretches his points out from 9 to 10. Then Aiken now sits 3rd in the points. With that win, he closed it up a bit. Michael Watt, you can see both of them up 2 now in the points. Jan Bernier sits in the 5th spot, and Charles Whittall, I'm sure frustrated. He was up in the points and closer to Bernier in that group, and now has dropped off, having been tapped here at the back. Then Cyril Choksi, Marston, who is not here, Ian Campbell in his first start of the season there, and Gaio, who is not here as well, completing the top 10 in points. But as we said, there are 2 categories here. The other one, Coppa Shell Am, and in that one, coming into the championship weekend here, the people in the points that were up front, interesting with Benoit coming in, he's going to be somebody to watch for. So Lance Cawley with Brandon Cruz, who had 2 wins at VIR, not here. Cawley moves into the lead. Frank Rumi here, or Frank, I get that backwards, I'm sorry, Frank Remy, who had a pole and a great run in the first race at VIR, but didn't run in the second one, is tied for 3rd in the points with Carroll. And then Benoit Bergeron, bam, right into the top 5. Schmidt, Clark, Keebler, and the rest of the group here, as you can see. So we're in for a great championship here, and you get these drivers that sometimes can't make every round, but when they come in, they're fast, and they keep the points scenario really, really interesting. And this race was fascinating, too. You go back to the start of it, and, Chris Aiken from that pole, Benoit Bergeron on his class pole, and Aiken able to open the margin up just a bit in the early going as they came around and picked up the green, though, from the pole. Everybody was wondering, what's Watt going to be able to do here? And it looked like Watt was going to be able to hang on, but Coleman was a rocket ship, 4th to 2nd, but it didn't last that long here as first Watt was able to move back up and through. We had great battling throughout here and up through some of the absolutely fascinating corners here. Lisa Clark battling for a spot in the top 5 with then Brett Jacobson, who had a bit of a moment. Some serious side-by-side action. Great evasive being taken by some of the drivers as they were being passed here, and a recovering Charles Whittall. And then this beautiful move by Watt around the outside in turn 7. Aiken fought back. Watt stayed with him. And right here, as they get to this point, you can make this little left-hander, but then it's got to go right. And Aiken realized, yeah, I got nowhere to go, had to bail. He hung on to it, but Watt able to open the margin up. He'd taken care of his tires beautifully. Aiken did hang on for 2nd with Coleman and Musial, and then it was Benoit Bergeron, 5th overall, winning from pole in his first ever start. Wraps up our coverage of the first race of the doubleheader weekend of this 2nd round of the Ferrari Challenge Championship in Coppa Shell. Thank you so much for joining us. We qualify in this category again tomorrow morning and race again tomorrow afternoon, so we'll see you then.